time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Welcome to City Beat here on 102.9 CHTM. Mayor Tim Johnston is here to talk about all things Thompson. And I understand you just got back into town from a conference in Winnipeg, Tim, so tell us about that.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to represent Thompson at the Centralia event in Winnipeg over the last day or so. And it's an event where they try to match the business community with economic opportunities in the province or in the country. And this year the conference was focused on Manitoba opportunities, and there were specific sessions on northern Manitoba. So I participated in one of three panels and talked a little bit about the economic environment here in Thompson and the opportunities. I can tell you it was a phenomenal event to be at, and the interest, I've attended a number of events over the last month or so. The interest in what's happening in northern Manitoba is quite frankly, it's even surpassing what I had expected, and I think that that's really good in terms of the future. And it's it's obviously related to the mining industry, to the hydro developments, transportation. So it was good to see some of those economic drivers, businesses in this province looking to northern Manitoba, and most importantly, wanting to gain a better understanding of the north and establish connections with northern Manitoba.
Okay, and with those being such big sectors, business sectors like the highways and hydro and mining, what about smaller businesses? So how are we going to attract that? Because those large sectors need smaller businesses, the clothing stores, the grocery stores, the entertainment sector really needs to develop to keep those people here.
Yeah, and it was interesting. So we went right through sort of the scenario. So from a municipal point of view, we talked a lot about the infrastructure, the available workforce, things like that. But I think that one of the misunderstandings that perhaps southern Manitoba has is how diverse the workforce is, how young the population of Thompson is, the potential opportunities in terms of economic growth. And I always tell the story that, and I used this line yesterday, is that when I travel anywhere in Canada, the first question I always get is, how is Inco doing? Now I think about that question, that tells you a lot. That tells you how people still see our community. So my first thing is, well, it's not Inco anymore, it's Valley. Interesting enough, not just the owner of the complex has changed, the community has fundamentally changed. So a big part of what I think we have to do is, one, dispel some of the myths about northern Manitoba. Two, expand the economic base beyond that single industry. And three, encourage that investment to come into our communities. So it's all a part, and I really thank the Manitoba Chamber. Chuck Davison has done an absolutely phenomenal job. And David Angus from the Winnipeg Chamber, which is another very influential organization, have really been stressing creating these connections between business, large and small in Winnipeg, and business, government, industry in northern Manitoba. And I think that that's where you can start to see some of the synergies and see that establishment. And if you can do that, you're absolutely right. Business drives business because you have to provide service and amenities for employees, whatever. So I think that the conversation is just starting, and for the first time in my sense, in the time I've been in northern Manitoba, I think that there's an understanding of the need to actually have northern Manitoba at the table. In all honesty, the province of Manitoba is a unique location with one major large geographic center that largely has dictated in many ways what took place in the rest of the province. I think smart business people are understanding they're not going to be successful unless they're partnering with interests in the region.
Okay. And I'm thinking one sector we didn't really mention, and that was tourism. I know the other night at the City Council meeting, the Boreal Discovery Center came up. So how do you feel about the Boreal Discovery Center yourself? What do you think that is going to offer our community and the people visiting our community?
Well, I think it's another one of those amenities that you use as part of the assets that you have as a community. I had a chance to travel to Churchill on August the 5th for the first grain ship. And I think that one of the things that we misunderstand, and we talked a little bit about this because there was representation from Churchill there yesterday, is it how unique Churchill is. And I think in Thompson, we have to position ourselves to support and likely complement that. I think the Boreal Discovery Center is one of those assets that would attract some of those tourists that are traveling through Thompson. And I think that's part of what you do. You establish those assets, you make sure that they're done well. I've had a chance to tour the Discovery Center and some of the work that's being done there, and I think they're on the right track. They are building an asset that I think will function at that higher level. And you can't just expect people to show up in your community. You have to provide them good service, good quality attractions, and I think you have to market it. But I think we also have to understand, and through my work, I had a chance to see Travel Manitoba's new plan about a month ago and some of their advertisements. And I think that we have to understand in Manitoba how tourism is being marketed. I think we have a place in that. I think we also have to understand that we probably fit into a bigger picture for tourism.
Okay, sounds good. So also at the City Council meeting, you had a presentation that you made, and then you had a delegation who came and had a presentation. And I thought they were both very interesting, and they both are, mark individuals and groups that have invested a lot of time, effort, and energy in our community. So I'll let you talk first about the presentation.
Well, I was very pleased. We made a presentation of the key to the city to Dr. Alan Rich. Dr. Rich is really an icon here in our community and quite frankly in northern Manitoba, so I was very pleased to do that. And I was really happy that Councillor Locker joined me in that, because Councillor Locker has played a very active role in advocating for healthcare in this community as a healthcare professional herself, but also in terms of volunteer efforts. So we had made the decision that we needed to recognize. I like the recognition of long-term residents that have made significant contributions, and I don't think that there's anyone quite frankly, that was more deserving than Dr. Rich. And, there were some good stories from people about some of the things that he's done. And for me, I just think it's a great story. Here's a guy who put himself through med school by working underground in the mine here in Thompson. Then he came back to the community, I think it was 1972, and he operated a small business, really, because he was a fee-for-service practitioner for 42 years. And he continues to practice to this day. So I think that that's just phenomenal. But it's the human connection. And I told you a story about traveling a lot. The other thing I usually get asked about is Dr. Rich still in Thompson. So, and when I do that, I'll say, yes, he is. As a matter of fact, he's transitioning to retirement and relocation, but yeah, absolutely, he's going to maintain a presence there in Thompson. And they'll always have a story about how he helped them or a family member, or quite frankly, maybe even a pet in the family. Yeah. And I think that is just a great northern story. And so I was very pleased, and I've had a lifelong connection with Dr. Rich, quite frankly, from a family point of view. And so for me, it was very special, and I really enjoyed it. And quite frankly, I had a few weeks left, and that was one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I've always felt that this community had to recognize his contribution. And again, from my point of view, as having been a part of a medical family, I'm very confident in saying no one has ever played a more important role in medical coverage practitioner service in Thompson, Manitoba than Dr. Rich.
Okay. And you said you didn't hand these out very often, so how many have you given away in your time?
Well, it's very interesting, because I think the Key to the City is a very special award, and so looking back on it, I think that I've probably done 4 that I initiated over the 8 years. I did one additional one that was sort of committed to prior to when I came on as mayor, and all of them for me, and it is the mayor's discretion, all of them for me had to signify a major contribution over a long period, again, in a number of different areas, because I think that really that's what's important to me. It's not just coming and doing one thing well. It's coming and engaging in the community and making a contribution to the Thompson that makes it a better place to live. And all the ones that I've done, I've been very, very pleased. And, I've always been amazed at how moving it is for the individual that is receiving. It means an awful lot. And so that's a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. All right, and then the next was the delegation, and we all know them, the Norman North Stars. Kathy Valentino does a great job really promoting her team. It's obviously something she believes in very strongly. She's been involved for 21 years. So maybe give us a little bit of a recap about that.
Well, it was great, and it was an interesting scenario. We had the presentation, then we had the delegation, and it talked a lot about community. So the North Stars attended, and I have always enjoyed when they come. It's more than just hockey. It's about a community program. It's about building young men and installing values and principles, and it's been a phenomenal program. 30th anniversary of the Norman North Stars this year, for a team that I think has always been challenged to function in the league. They've done it at a junior A level. They've always had to exceed expectations. So the volunteers have done an amazing job. Kathy leading now, but there's been so many. I think of Terry Murray and so many people along the years that have just done a phenomenal job. Then you have the coaching. Doug Corman is going to celebrate his 20th anniversary as a coach of the North Stars, and I'll tell you that is tremendous. And Doug, I had the privilege of playing some hockey with Doug, and I've always said this: no one was a better captain in terms of instilling values in players. And the one thing that I've said, and it was interesting because I think he was getting a little rib that night, but I'll tell you this: Doug will never ask a player to do more than he had done as a player. And I'll tell you, there's very few players that ever did more than Doug Corman in terms of contributing to a team. So it's great to see that. It's going to be a good year. We've got the anniversary, the celebration all year long. Hometown hockey's coming here. Those are going to be some of the success stories of Thompson, the volunteers, the fans, the connection, and how important it is to the community to go out to the rink and be a part. And so it's great to see them, and they're great young gentlemen. I've always said they act as our ambassadors in the community, and they're from all over northern Manitoba, and it's good. And there was another real good feel-good story.
Yeah. And they're kicking off their home season here this Saturday. So make sure everybody gets out to check that out. That's about it for now. Do you have any things coming up here this week, Tim, that you can tell us about?
Well, a couple quick things. One is I'm attending the Celebrating Abilities Conference. It's taking place right here in Thompson this week, which is great to see people from around the province. Steve Ashton, I want to thank him. He flew in to provide greetings. That's how important this issue is for our community and our leadership. So I appreciated that. We're right into the busy season, so there's lots happening. I want to remind people it's Mental Illness Awareness Week, October 6th to the 11th, and the Heroes of Mental Health celebration is going to be taking place Friday, October the 10th. Encourage people to get out, participate in that event. In addition, it's Fire Prevention Week as well. Encourage people to spend some time with their children and talk a little bit about this. It's extremely important. Two other things that I really want to mention. One is that all month long, October, Jason Lucas is at Heritage North Museum. Here is, again, another real asset of this community. I mean, Jason is just phenomenal, not just as an artist, but as a person. I mean, this guy, for me, he's just everything good about what Northern Manitoba is about. He's one of our biggest promoters, and so I want to see residents get out, take a look at his work and support him. He deserves it and does a great job. The other one is, obviously, it's a holiday weekend. There's so much to do. Encourage people to get out to watch the North Stars. But for those that might be traveling, please ensure safe travel. The weather is a little iffy at best. I understand now we're going to be above double digits this weekend, but that can change pretty quick. So enjoy the weekend. It's a time for spending some time with family and safe travels to everyone who may be traveling in or out of Thompson.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim, for the update and for all the information. And just let everybody know that Tim has one final show with us next week before he hands over the reins to the city. So that's it for this edition of Thompson Today from 102.9 CHTM. I'm Sue O'Brien.